The Uncontrollables. Outrageous? Sometimes. Thoughtful? Maybe. Offensive? Probably. Fabulous? Always. All right, welcome back to the Uncontrollables. This is episode 20. Josh was out for episode 19. That was a very special episode. I was almost out for that episode. We had Chris Spangle and Gina Martinez kind of run that show.
How'd that go? I didn't get a chance to hear it yet.
That is I haven't archived it yet. That was a very, very good episode. I think it was one of our better ones, sadly.
Since I wasn't there.
And I was barely
there. You were
there.
pretty much not there. That's great. So when other people host the show, it's some of the best ones ever.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to get on some rants. In my solo vacation, I was still a little jet lagged. So I wasn't 100% there, but this week we brought you something absolutely spectacular, something I think is our biggest guest, our
biggest name guest so far, at least.
Yes,
for
I mean,
sure.
The other biggest name I've ever had on the show is I had Rupert make me a commercial for Rupert's Kids. That's about it.
Yeah, we need to get Rupert on this show.
Rupert
sometime.
will be a guest coming up soon. I'm pretty sure I have first dibs.
Good.
I'm not going to say anything else because
I don't want to miss that show. I want to be part of it.
You will be a part of it. I will, and to let you guys know, I will probably switch it up where Josh will be. He's my main co-host, and sometimes I'll bring in a third co-host, so we don't necessarily always have to have guests. But I'm also sometimes going to maybe change it up and have Gina Martinez, who just got her. She's a part of We Are Libertarians now, and she also has her own show, Storytime with Gina. It's not politics. It's freaking hilarious. You should listen to it. I was on the premiere episode, the first one.
I didn't know she had that show going on. Tell me about that a little bit.
It's story time with Gina. Whatever Gina wants to talk about for 30 minutes an hour, she's going to talk about with no restrictions.
Hey guys, this is Rupert from Survivor, and you're listening to The Uncontrollables.
Hey there, Rupert. How about you tell us a little bit about Rupert's Kids?
For the last 22 years, we've been running a mentoring program teaching young men and women how to have that sense of self-worth, that work ethic, how to get themselves out of the system, out of trouble, and make that legal living. Check it out, rupertskids.org.
Is it true that the charity doesn't take any state, federal, or local government monies?
We have never in 22 years taken a government dollar, no city, state, federal funding. We do not even take grant dollars. If people want to donate to us, it's because they want to give money to help their community.
Rupert, what is pirate for donate?
Is pirate for don't forget to donate.
Woo!
Yes, it gets interesting.
Where do you find the show at?
You can go to We Are Libertarians Network,
Okay.
WAL.com. It's a very interesting show. It's good. She's funny. She's smart. She ran for office here not too long ago. She was the 4'11" little hot-bodied hot cop outfit wearing lady in my Ustream of my last weekend. If anybody's seen the pictures, I'm floating around. I am going to explain that the spatula in the picture and her outfit that I shared, that I wasn't saying what the correlation was, is that spatula can't be washed because it's been in some very special places and done some very special things. I don't really want to go to that. If you weren't watching the live stream of it, you missed out. I'm sorry.
That's
Next
still
time
up on Ustream, isn't it?
No, I downloaded all that and I took it right off Ustream.
Oh, I didn't.
I have all of it, and I had my own handy cam, like hand camera, running around doing stuff too. So if you next time I say I'm going to live stream something, even if it seems boring at first, you should probably just have it up in the background because it's gonna get interesting. It's not necessarily me; it's the people I know. But what we were talking about with our guest this week is we had Papa Roo.
We did have Papa Roo.
Papa Roo, he had international fame not too long ago for one of the acts of kindness, I would suppose.
Supporting your fellow man, helping out your neighbors, helping a guy in trouble.
Yeah, and he owns and operates the Papa Roo restaurant, which is a Creole style food place with Cajun,
po' boys,
everything else.
Absolutely incredible food. Absolutely amazing. We'll say it a couple times during this interview, you'll hear too. But honestly, if you have not eaten at the Papa Roo 10th and Post, my God, stop in there. It's so good.
The food's amazing. I've only eaten there once.
Unlimited free sides.
I have, however.
If you dine in.
I've eaten a po' boy from there, but I have also eaten Giacomo's pizza that uses some of his ingredients.
I got leftover Giacomo in the fridge right now.
Their Creole pizza uses some of his ingredients, and a couple other pizzas I think do as well. But his restaurants run like a true... This is a restaurant you go into and you go like, even if the food isn't necessarily to my taste or it's not the best kind of food, like, I'm going to keep coming back here just because I like the atmosphere, I like the employees, I like the owner, I like everything about this place. I'm going to keep coming back. He has a very family feel. So, no, definitely check out Papa Ru's restaurant. It's like I said, 10th and Post. But we decided, if you guys have been following me on Facebook at all, which
you should be.
You should be, Maya Axton. Also, Maya Axton, the page. We got creating Maya, the page. We've got
/Josh Featherstone.
/Josh Featherstone. We've got the Uncontrollables. Obviously, you should be watching. I also moderate Indianapolis
Maya and I are also... We're Android phone users, so we have recently been introduced to the world of Vine because Vine just came out for Android here recently. We both are trying to take advantage of that. So definitely, if you're our Twitter followers, check out our Vines because we're going to try to get a little crazy on there. We just kind of testing the water so far, but I think we're going to get nuts.
I'm playing with it a little bit, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. I'm
going to do a Vine right now while you're recording.
Okay. Well, there's Vine. I'm also on... I'm on Imager, obviously, but I'm also on the Instagram, and I do pretty well with some pretty neat photos on there. Obviously Facebook and all that stuff, Twitter. Follow us, find us. Also, go check out Papa Ru. He has a page. You can follow him. He does make a lot of posts, and they're usually pretty thought-provoking and has some hilarious stuff on the page. But another thing I want to really talk about and get into is the recent news with Adam Kokesh. Just this past week, he was arrested. The cops raided his fucking house, and they kicked in his door with the big, the door thing, and then they threw in a flashbang, and they arrest him, and they're trumping him up on drug charges, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, hold on. They say he was, possession of a, class 1 or class 2 substance. You also have possession of the class 1 or class 2 substance while possession of a firearm. And this is all because he made a video on the 4th of July of him in Washington, D.C., loading a pump shotgun, talking kind of over it and doing a little stylized speech. And they come and they're like, you know what? We're going to bust this guy. We're going to kick down his door. Now, this isn't his first rodeo. This isn't the first time he's gone through this stuff. God, he really had shrooms just laying around in his place? Really? He had just shrooms just hanging out. So the cop found him, they arrested him, and then today was the 11th, was his first day in court, and they won't give him a lawyer. They won't let him contact a lawyer. They have not even sent out the paperwork to get him a public defender. And so he will not cooperate. He is disobeying all orders while in prison, and they had to wheel him out in a wheelchair, take him out of solitary confinement, wheel him out in a wheelchair into the courtroom. And you know what the really sticklers here, Josh, that people really need to pay attention to because it's been kind of popping up? The judge says that his silence equated to consent. To whatever ruling or anything the judge said. Silence is consent.
Silence equals consent.
You do not have a right to remain silent.
So if you have the right to remain silent and silent equals consent, then what that ruling means is you have the right to consent.
Yes, you have the right to just basically do whatever we tell you to do.
Basically, it means you don't have any other choice.
Which means justice. It's been dead for a long time, but that's just another nail in the coffin of the dead justice in this country is that even if you don't like Adam Kokesh, even if you don't like what he's doing, if you don't, you're an idiot, but that's okay. But silence is consent. They're not giving him his due process. They're not giving him a freaking lawyer. They're not letting him contact his lawyer. That's absolute shit. Do you think anybody, for any reason, you'd want to go to court and not have a lawyer and say that your silence is used as consent? They had that thing where if you're silent, they can use it as testimony against you, is that your silence is saying you are basically admitting fault.
Right.
And the cops use that. Silence, it can get you in trouble.
Silence is false. Silence is an admission now.
And if you open your mouth and you say the one wrong word, or maybe they'll pick up on your emotion or something, you're screwed on that end too. This is utter bullshit. And justice is dead in this country, and we need to make sure that Adam Kokesh doesn't spend more than 2 months in jail. Let him run through his court case. I'm sure he has plans and ideas for it. But let's make sure Adam Kokesh does not stay in jail. by any means necessary, we should make sure that he is a free man, because he has fought and he has done many, many grand things to help bring attention to the cause of liberty and the loss of our freedoms. Now, there are no leaders in this movement. We're not the Tea Party. We're not the Republicans. We're not the Libertarian Party. There are no leaders in this movement. But when a great soldier is taken out, we must do what we can to rectify that situation. Okay, people might not agree with what he did as far as going to Washington, D.C. Freedom Plaza, by the way.
Freedom Plaza.
And then gets arrested off of video. They have a search warrant and end up arresting him on drug charges. Really? He's not even getting charged with the actual crime he broke. They're getting him on drug charges. This is another reason why are mushrooms, things that grow in your freaking yard.
So did he have them on him?
I highly doubt it.
All right, here's my thought.
That would say Adam Kokesh is an absolute idiot.
You know, that's something else that makes me wonder if they knew what he was up to, and to prevent him being able to create the court case that he wanted to create, basically saying that their laws were illegal, they didn't arrest him on those laws.
You know, I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt that this whole thing's been kind of slightly orchestrated. And the thing
they
is,
knew he was coming. It wasn't any secret.
But the thing is, I want to know what the search warrant was for. Why did they have a search warrant? If they knew that he committed a crime, what were they searching for? What were they?
Question.
They had him on record admitting that it was a real shotgun, it was real shells, and he was really in D.C.
Right. So
why did they need a search warrant?
Right.
So there's a lot of things, and it's a case, even if, like I said, if you don't agree with Adam Kokesh or what he does or anything else, this is something to pay attention to, because they will use this. They might even charge him with sedition and armed sedition. If you watch his case, what they do here, they will be doing again. They will do to other activists, not even as extreme as Adam Kokesh is, and it's really exercising your human rights is extreme these days. That's sad we even have to frickin' say that. Extreme my ass.
And, you know, we're going to be hearing some more opinions on that when we get to this interview here in a second about the government and whether or not they have a right to do the crap that they're doing. Because this is just, I know your answer is never. My question is, when in the hell people are going to wake up?
Well, I mean, okay, think of you in the Liberty Movement. People see Adam Kokesh, and they're turned off by him. They would rather go have fun and have a squirt gun fight in D.C. for their Second Amendment rights.
That was a more ridiculous.
He started that to make fun of Kokesh.
Right, no, and I'm not a fan of the Kokesh idea. We talked about that a couple different times on the show, so that's one thing. But that was an even dumber idea.
But speaking of the Adam Kokesh thing, there's something that... it's the Final American Revolution Pledge of Resistance. And I'm going to read it to you guys because it's pretty freaking awesome. And I'm actually going to keep borrowing a bullhorn that I used this past Independence Day, and I'm going to run around with it and constantly read this out. So here goes. When a government has repeatedly and deliberately failed to follow its own laws, violated the fundamental human rights of its citizens, threatened the sanctity of a free press, created institutions intended to eliminate privacy of communication, waged war at the behest of special interests that threatens that public safety, killed hundreds of children with drone strikes, imprisoned and destroyed the lives of countless individuals for victimless crimes, stifled economic opportunity to maintain the dominance of the financial elite, stolen from the people through an absurd system of taxation and inflation, sold future generations into debt slavery, and abused its power to suppress political opposition. It is unfit to exist and becomes the duty of the people to alter or abolish that government by whatever means necessary to secure liberty and ensure peace. A new American revolution is long overdue. We who recognize the illegitimacy of the government will withdraw our material support. We will take every reasonable measure to avoid the theft of taxation. We refuse to serve the federal government with our labor. We reject the authority of the federal government and will resist at every opportunity. We demand an orderly dissolution of the federal government through secession and reclamation of federally held property. We will provide aid and comfort to victims of the state. We will mark Independence Day not with a celebration of collectivism, but with a direct action to create freedom. We will recruit others to this cause and share this pledge. The time to sit idly by has passed. To remain neutral is to be complicit. Just doing your job is not an excuse, and the line in the sand has been drawn between we the people and the criminals in Washington, D.C., while some timid souls will say that it is too early, that we can solve this problem through democratic means provided by government, that current levels of taxation are reasonable for the services provided, and that the crimes of this government are merely a tolerable nuisance. It may already be too late. While there is a risk in drastic action, the greater danger lies in allowing this government to continue unchallenged. We will not be silent. We will not obey. We will not allow the government to destroy humanity. We are the final American Revolution. And that was something that, and remember, like I said, there are no leaders in this movement. That is something that Adam Kokesh put together. And it was meant to be kind of read and shouted out and read over loudspeakers at the July 4th protest we had scheduled for all 50 states. I think if you have anything to disagree with about that, what's your excuse? I mean, by saying that we still have democratic processes to run through, that we still have the ability to function within federal government and use the system they have given us to change them, that's kind of absurd, isn't it? Don't you think it's past that with the NSA, what they're doing to Kokesh right now, what they do with the FBI? The ACLU just put out a great report the other day about 10 things you need to know about the FBI. I didn't know about all those. And that's some scary shit, dude. They're a rogue organization. They're taking a bunch of money. They lie to our Congress. They do not answer to congressional authority that they're supposed to be under. So if we have rogue organizations like that and Congress is not doing anything or has no power to do anything, what's the point of voting for Congress? Well, if Congress has no power over a very strong organization like the FBI, even the NSA, what power does your vote have? What's the point in voting for something when it does absolutely nothing except maybe the Democrats proposing a bill to build a freaking park on the freaking moon?
I'm not going to get into this whether or not you vote thing. Yeah.
No, I'm saying what do you get for your vote? When you go pull that lever, what are you getting for your vote? What do you, even if your candidate, if you expect your candidate to win, what do you think you're going to get out of that? Since they have zero power in the House, they have zero power at all. They can't control half the goddamn organizations we have. All the alphabet soup places. You know how many secret organizations we have that are created underneath these other FBI, CIA? They create their own stuff, have funding for it through their own appropriations, and we can't touch it. We have no power. What do you get for your vote?
What do you get if you don't?
That is, okay. Voting is one action. My activism, my agorism is another action.
All right, I guess maybe voting, with voting, I get, let's say my candidate wins. Some candidates or some office holders are great about rallying the troops around them, and other officers are better at being the troops that are being rallied. I guess I have hope, based on my political views, that if my candidates win, that they are the kind of voices that can rally the troops and actually step into implement change. The flip side being, if you don't vote, then you have no hope for anything except continuing down the path that we're going on. If you don't vote, you have no hope.
That's saying that if I don't vote, that means I just basically sit on my ass all day and do nothing else. And you're saying that basically voting is your only option. What I do when I don't vote, I do more than the average voter will ever do. I affect more on a daily basis than a voter does.
Which is part of the reason that you're not voting is kind of bullshit to me. Like the other day on Facebook, you said something about, I'm not going to fight for a system I don't support. But you fight day in and day out for candidates that you won't vote for. You spend your damn near entire life fighting for candidates, but you won't vote for them. You can't tell me that you refuse to participate in the system. You've dedicated your damn life to it.
Okay, well, we got time for this. So basically, the way I see this is that there's still a system that's functioning. I cannot myself destroy it, and I cannot myself take people that are in the left-right paradigm and bring them straight to anarchism. That's almost an impossible feat, especially with my way of delivering the message.
Bring into libertarianism, let alone anarchism.
If I can better make libertarianism look like what I want it to look like, and I can affect the message of libertarianism, and I can skew it just slightly, ever so slightly, towards my ideals, I've affected change towards my wants. on what changes. Now,
me ask
supporting
you
the
this.
system, people are going to vote, right? People are going to vote no matter what. As long as there's a system to vote for, until I can take apart the system, we can take apart the system that there's a
But
vote
you
for.
shoot yourself
as
in
long
the
as
foot.
people, how?
You cut
How?
off your nose to spite your face sometimes. You're out fighting your ass off for these candidates, and then people find out that no matter how much effort, they look at you and they respect you, and they think, wow, I know that's a tough concept for anyone to grasp. People
It
respect
is.
Maya, but it's true. They see you out there busting your ass for the Libertarian Party, and they respect you and what you put into it. But then they find out that you don't even give a shit enough to vote. They will follow your lead.
It's not given enough. And you know what?
I know it's not a give a shit point, but it doesn't matter what you think it is. It matters what they think it is.
And I try to the best I can often is give that out. Is I cannot morally support government. Then so that's the same thing as saying that if you go to a church that won't support, if you won't marry a gay couple because of your moral beliefs, that's no different than me not voting. I have to be able to look at myself.
Holy
no,
crap!
not
what?
doing something because of your morals. My morals stipulate that I cannot support a system in which is a monopolization on the use of force.
You do support this system. You fight for it. You go out and you spend your life campaigning, running campaigns. Just because
Candidates.
Now, just because
another reason.
candidates for the system. Just because you don't step in the ballot box and commit your name to a piece of paper doesn't mean you're not fighting and
I
participating
don't
in the
force
system.
anyone to vote.
You are participating in the system. Don't
Now,
kid yourself.
You know how many people I've helped come to anarchism
You-
through the Libertarian Party? You know how many members I've stolen from you guys? Two.
Silly
Okay,
goose.
hold on. Who would I be without the Libertarian Party? Who would I be without politics? I would have no network. I would have no connections. I would have no authority.
You're right. It's benefited you as well. I'm not going to deny that. It's
I've
benefited
used
you.
what I can, but see,
But
even in
but
being
don't
involved in the Libertarian Party
don't
does not
pretend you're not
violate the-
involved in the system. That's a
I
crime.
never said I'm not involved. I do not endorse the system.
Right,
I
but-
am without a shadow of a doubt involved in a I'm not a willing participant in the system. But no,
That's a bunch of BS.
I can't go home and just go, okay, I'm not going to pay taxes. I'm not going to take the orders that the
Right, but
politicians
you
hand down.
can say, I'm not going to deal with politics in any way, shape, or form, which you pretend to be doing by saying you're not going to vote. And I said I wasn't going to get into you with this damn topic. What you say you were going to do by, I don't vote because I'm not going to participate in the system, but then you go out and spend your entire life
and hold on,
fighting for candidates.
And no, this will also
which means you're fighting for a part of the system.
Hold on.
They're candidates in the system.
I'm of influence the system to better fit my ideals. Now, I never go out there and say, "Hey, vote. You need to vote." I say, if you're
voting
going to
couldn't possibly help that.
no. If you're
Let me
gonna,
ask you
hold on,
this.
hold on. If I say this, I say if you're going to vote, vote for this guy.
Let me ask you a serious
don't vote.
question. Let me ask you a serious question. Where, if the Libertarian Party, let's say that in 2012, Rupert Bonham, the polls started coming in, and he was seriously a contender, and you were on his campaign, but it was going to come down to tiny amounts of votes, it looked like. And there was a genuine possibility that every single vote might matter because it looked
I
like...
wouldn't have voted for him.
What
you
if,
understand?
What if he lost by one vote?
Not voting isn't some political ideology feel-good shit.
I know.
My morals, my own code of ethics say you cannot vote. I am endorsing a system that kills hundreds of thousands of people.
No, you're not. You're endorsing a candidate that wants to get away from that. You're not endorsing the system by voting for someone that despises the things that you despise.
By supporting the candidate, I support the candidate in my way. Voting is supporting the system, and you know what? That's my morals. That's not me reading goddamn Rothbard or Hayek or some shit. That's my moral code. I won't work for a company I don't agree with. If a company I want to work for supports somebody or something I don't like, I won't work for them. I practice my morals in an everyday way.
All right. Do you think that there is any way possible to get towards the world you would like to see other than voting? No, I'm not saying voting's going to get you there, but do you think that there is any other path?
Yes.
What? Seriously.
Really?
Yes, really.
See, you say that, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, voting's been happening for like 200 years now. We've had government for thousands of years, and there's been highs and lows, and there's been people voting all the time.
Tell me how.
And there's been so much activism in the last 70 years.
Don't tell me about what voting's going to do. Tell me about
not do.
Tell me
what
about
am I going to do?
Tell me
not
about
voting. How do I reach my utopia without voting?
How does anarchy ever get here if you don't participate in this system?
We remove the structure of power because the structure of power will not destroy itself because power attracts power-hungry people. You can't stop that. You destroy the system through many, many different means. There's 100 different ways you can go about it. Through agorism, black and gray markets, you can go through just activism. You can go through many different means.
Never destroy the system.
I don't want to destroy the entire system.
From outside.
I want to bet. And what do you think I'm doing on the inside? What do you think I'm doing with the Libertarian Party?
Hello, that's my point.
But not with voting. I don't think candidates actually winning changes it. I don't
understand is where the division in your morals is, because you're participating in the system, you're fighting for these candidates, you're fighting for a part of the system, but you won't vote for them. You're fighting in the same part of the system.
I'm changing social norms. I'm changing society through pushing big candidates like Phil Miller, Rupert Bonham. I'm changing the social structure, people, and their opinions and hearts and minds. I'm not thinking I'll ever change the system. If Rupert would have won, he wouldn't have been able to accomplish a goddamn thing. The legislature would not let him do a single thing because the Republicans, Democrats would never let a libertarian accomplish a goddamn thing, because then they would have started losing more elections. And their whole spiel that libertarians are crazy would have fallen out of the bottom of the boat. By helping Rupert, by meeting and interacting with the thousands of people I did, I helped talk to, I led new people to new ideas, new thoughts. I changed social structure and social norms. That's what I did by working, quote unquote, within the system. Everything else I do with Cop Block, with all the other activism I do, that's a whole other story. I'm helping further cause of anarchism and liberty, and actually working physically and actually against the government. That's how all this works in my mind.
Your mind.
You know what? And you know what? I sleep at night very well. I know that I'm more, as best as I can be on a day-to-day basis, that I am morally sound and I can look myself in the mirror. I know many, many people out there don't even know what that statement means. It's a very dated statement, honestly. But I can be happy with myself. I can sleep easily and honestly at night. I don't have to worry that, the ends for me do not justify the means. And that's what government is thinking that we can keep supporting and holding this government up until we change it. But until then, it's going to continue destroying millions of lives around the world with sanctions and trade restrictions and all the other crap it does, and its war machines and everything else, and giving money and weapons to other people that shouldn't have it, and starting coups and shit. As long as we're supporting and saying, hey, we need to keep this system so we can change it, the ends do not justify the means. The means is continuing to allow the government to do the evils it does. And I am not okay with that, and I do not support that.
You know what I think?
I think you're chicken shit.
I think that you're a chicken shit.
Oh, really?
But anyway, I think that on this particular evening, instead of talking about this topic that we've tackled in at least 3 or 4 other episodes, let's move on to our guest.
We have
incredible interview.
We have an interview. And hold on, let me set this up real quick. There's something special here. We're about roughly after the ending. We're probably going to be roughly around 28, 29 minutes in. And we're still going to be at the exit to this show. Now, we know there's some time constraints with Paparoo, and so we already recorded this. We're recording this post-interview. And you're only going to get about a half hour of the interview. It's an hour-long interview of an amazing, just balls-to-the-wall, awesome interview.
Yep.
Now, this is special because I didn't want to cut this out. There's different topics I wanted to talk about on top of it, but I wanted to make sure we get everything we could out of Paparoo. This interview is only going to last about a half hour on this. This is airing on Indiana Talks at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. So it's probably 7:30 right now. It's going to air tomorrow, I think, at 10 a.m. I think 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's going to air again.
Yep.
Noon on Wednesday, the day after this airs, it will be uploaded and archived at the Uncontrollables.com. You can also go to creatingmaya.com and go to the Uncontrollables tab. It'll be all over freaking Facebook. I'm going to post it a million times. It will also probably be on Papa Rue's page. It has a big following. So if you're listening to this on Indiana Talks, you're going to get about a half hour of the interview. It's going to cut off probably abruptly because I'm not that good at editing just yet, and I don't want to chop things up too much, but you're going to have to go and wait till Wednesday at noon to get the rest of it. Now, if you would like to, you can subscribe right now. Whatever day, Tuesday or Wednesday, you can subscribe to it right now and make sure that it automatically updates and tells you through your RSS feed or through iTunes that the episode is up.
Yep.
So you can do that. That's how this is going to work. So let's get to our interview with Papa Rue.
Without further ado,
this is going to have Papa Rue, the owner of Papa Rue. We have Jason Sipe, who is the chair of the Libertarian Party of Marion County, and Josh Featherstone and Maya Axton. I am the nobody. So, I'm the host of the show, which means I'm awesome. So, here it is.
And we're here with name familiar to Indiana East Siders and business, Papa Rue, a.k.a. Art Bouvier.
Bouvier in the house.
Bouvier in the house.
Yes, sir.
We're going to stick with the Papa Rue, though, because I think that's how everyone will recognize you. Thanks for coming on the show. Kind of got an interesting show where you are a small business owner, which as libertarians is a topic that's very much close to the heart with us. Yeah. So for the people at home that maybe don't know who you are, you're not originally from Indianapolis, and from my understanding, it wasn't even your plan to stay when you first got here. Talk about how you got to Indy, and talk about your business and how that all got started.
Yeah, well, I'm from New Orleans. Grew up house of mama's cooking. And I realized when I was headed to college that I needed to get out of New Orleans or I was going to be stuck running a restaurant my whole life. So I came up north and got a good computer job, right? And I worked in IT for 15 years.
North being here in Indianapolis?
Well, north being Chicago, Detroit, San Francisco even for a little bit, and then settled down here in Indianapolis at Eli Lilly. So, but, I found out over the years I wasn't happy at a desk. I wasn't happy with a boss. I blame my dad for all that because he was self-employed. And I got used to, you make your own breaks. You answer to yourself and your family.
Sure.
And so I learned the hard way that that's what I needed to do. And when corporate America finally chewed me up and spit me out, I said, honey, we need a plan B, and I can cook. So we opened a restaurant. Now I ended up like a Greek tragedy. I ended up running into my own fate, trying to run away from it.
Right. Yeah, it happens sometimes. So your restaurant you opened is the now world-famous Papa Rue at the corner of 10th Street and Post here in Indianapolis. Tell us a little bit about some of the struggles you might have had getting your doors open.
Okay, so, the struggles getting the doors open 6 years ago were monumentally different from what they would be today. Somehow the small government in this town, wasn't oppressive 6 years ago like it is now. Financially, we struggled. We didn't have any money. I found an old building. It was my wife, myself, my family, our own hands and blood, sweat, and tears to renovate the place. I had one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I submitted to the Department of Homeland Security for my hood vent, and it was approved. And I installed the entire kitchen myself and passed all the codes from the Board of Health and got open.
No 6 years ago.
6 years ago. I had a buddy at the time that was a director at Department of Metropolitan Development, and he helped me just kind of know that I was going by all the codes and everything was right. That was 6 years ago. 3 years ago, we tried to expand a little bit into another room. Most of this town is going to chuckle because they kind of know the story of the failed dining room, the dining room that never was. We took on this new unit and we gutted it and started renovating it and started building out, kind of following the same exact schedule that we had done when we opened 6 years ago. The city came in, shut us down. I wasn't expecting it. So, I kind of got with them, and it was a weird process of 8 revisions of the permits before they finally agreed to something that we couldn't possibly afford anyway.
Sure.
And I went to my buddy, who was a director, and he had stepped down, and he was not with them anymore. And he says, yeah, I left because they turned into the fee and fine police. Really, all they're interested in now is can they get money out of small business owners? And I've heard that time and again in the past 3 years. Really, these now self-funded programs, which they are recently self-funded under the new government there, these self-funded programs are interested in how many fees and fines they can collect to keep the ball going. And it's just killing us.
What about City Market? Tell me about that and what kind of hurdles you had to overcome to get that open.
Let me tell you about City Market. That one actually that's our redheaded stepchild that we don't like to talk about very often. But what was interesting there is it followed right on the heels of being denied just about every building permit we applied for on the east side. Being denied on grounds that were so ridiculous that big-time contractors, there was a firm that had worked with all of the community east hospital construction. Mm-hmm. These people know what they're doing, and they were blown away by the amount of resistance we hit with our building permits on the east side. Then we took a spot in City Market, and I talked to the administrator there. I said, okay, fine, we're going to build out. Who applies for the permits? Who applies for the structural permits, everything? And she says, oh, we don't use permits here. And I got to looking at the code and everything, and it's a loophole. It's perfectly legal according to the loophole. But it's interesting because the bottom line is my landlord was the mayor. I mean, when you want to look at it, my landlord at City Market was the mayor, and I didn't need any building permits to do whatever I wanted.
You know, I can understand that. We're just now moving into a space in the City Market, and we're coming to find out that they kind of run their own show over there, and they can kind of do just whatever they want. There's really no rules over there. I mean, we're extremely depressed that you're not there anymore, but we're going to have to ask you why you're not there anymore.
You're going to have some wonderful food at Spice Box, right where I used to be, though. But yeah, so if I've got a private landlord, my construction is very limited and very costly.
Sure.
But if I'm renting from the city, it's no problem.
Right, because they want to make that money. So the loophole specifically says City Market itself?
No, the loophole specifically says if you are modifying less than, I believe it's 10% of the total infrastructure of the building. The total building is City Market.
Sure.
If you imagine any one unit there,
near 10%.
It's nowhere, yeah. So as long as they renovate one unit at a time.
Yeah. Interesting how that works out.
You gotta love government loopholes. They protect their own. The government's making money off that place and using it for all their little pet projects. So of course they're gonna have loopholes all over the place. So you have a recent issue you've run into with the government, and it deals with the patio, correct?
Oh, that's correct. We've had a patio there on the east side for going on 5 years now. We threw some tables and chairs out on an existing patio. Nobody said anything. The running theme here is, until we're making a whole lot of money hand over fist, nobody cares about us. And as soon as that money's there, somebody wants a piece of it. And that is, I believe, what happened now. This patio that's been in existence for over 5 years, suddenly last month we get a letter that it's in violation and the patio needs to come down. And if we keep seating out there past the end of June, we're hit with a $2,500 fine.
So you had end of June. When did you get the letter?
Middle of June.
So you had a couple of weeks tops.
A couple of weeks.
So what's the reasoning for the patio being no good anymore?
Well, now I can't fight the fact that it is not zoned for outdoor activity is really the wording. A C3 commercial zone is not zoned for outdoor seating. I mean, I get that one. But I've had city inspectors, all kind of DMD and you name it, they eat at Paparoo. They've been there for 5 years. Why has that patio been fine all this time? Now all of a sudden it's got to come down.
So it's just a code enforcement department that got you on that?
It turns out someone called and complained, which is really how this happens. Somebody gets a bug up their butt, calls the mayor's action line and complains about it. Then the city has to come out and inspect, and if they find a violation, they have to follow up on it.
What an asshole!
Right. So let's talk about you probably have no idea who complained or why.
I can't say who I suspect complained or why, but I do have a pretty good idea.
Sure. Someone not happy with your business or some aspect, I'm sure.
That's correct.
Of course. So they're just out to get you in any way that
that's
they
the
can.
way it works. It's a pretty dirty. It's very, very dog eat dog out there. It's not pretty at all.
Another example of the government being used for all the wrong reasons.
Right. So yeah, they just literally decided to use politics against you.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, we pull the patio. You know, we do what we need to do. I mean, I play by the rules. I just don't agree with the rules.
Now, at the point in time where you found out you were going to have to take the patio, there was some discussion about how you could possibly keep it, maybe. And there was some cost involved. Talk about how much money it was going to take for you to even consider it.
Yeah, no, so it's 10 seats out there, which is about 25% of our daily traffic. Which is substantial to us.
Sure.
But the cost involved in just retaining it is ludicrous. The minimal cost to apply for a variance for the zoning is $2,000. And that is simply to sit before the board and discuss my case.
So that you can have 10 seats outside.
Yeah, that is whether it's approved or not. That's just the fee to go before the board and talk about it. So...
Is there any way you can, because I know with smoking bans and stuff, people have modified outdoor seating areas, and they're kind of inside, they're kind of not. Have you looked into maybe being able to modify your patio area so it's not technically an outside seating area?
Yeah, I did look into that, and anything other than within the enclosed walls of the existing structure on the floor plans filed with the city will be considered outside.
That's absurd.
And if you've eaten at Paparu, and if you have not, I recommend it. You've got great food. Love your place. Thoroughly love your place. Recommend it to anyone that ever asks. You don't have a real big seating area inside.
No, we're lucky to get 40, you know, and in the cold weather, boy, that loss of that patio really hurts us.
Right.
And now during the summer, which really, there's not a worse time that they could have hit us, is right when the patio's in swing.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So, yeah, 10 seats, it's a chunk of your available seating.
It is.
You know, I'm going to come out and say this because, you know, if you look at my shirt, I co-own Indy Curry's. If you move downtown, you could do a delivery-only spot, and we'll deliver all your food for you. So you kind of made some posts on Facebook, kind of like you were interested in politics, and this is kind of why a lot of libertarians get involved in politics in the first place, to run for office, because they were screwed over by the government somehow. They want to get involved to change said government. Is the patio kind of like a last straw? Is a patio just kind of the last straw, or have you been kind of playing around with the idea of maybe getting involved with local politics?
Way to throw out the loaded questions, huh? The patio is yet another straw, but I mean it's a complicated formula here. What that post was, if you remember it, what the post was just my reflection on how much I've grown in the past 20 years for sure, but in the past 6 in particular. But when I was in San Francisco, which is obviously the liberal hotbed of the country, in my opinion, I was turned on to the underground culture out there of the hardest right-wing, ultra-radical conservative radio ever, and I became very involved in it. Mike Savage, the nut job that he is, this is before he was syndicated. I was in the hometown of his original show before he was nationwide. And I got very involved in it. And, when you're young and stupid, you do things that you think seem right at the time. And I'm sure I was reacting to the culture shock of San Francisco, which was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And I was just reflecting on how much I've matured and changed and how much the restaurant has changed me. 6 years ago, early on in the restaurant, one of my best friend's customers at Paparu was an ultra-radical left-wing hippie who would sit and debate and discuss with me and my son all night long when we were slow. And it turned out I had more in common with this guy than anyone else I had known. And we kind of realized that you can be ultra-radical one way or the other way, and the truth is, if you're that far from mainstream, it's because you don't feel represented. And that's when I started catching on to the fact that, hey, you know what the real story is here? I'm not represented by really anyone in this country right now.
Very, very, very true.
That is definitely a talking point the Libertarian Party constantly pushes, because people are like, well, I'm on the right with the economic issues, I'm on the left on the social issues, and nobody really is, because they push things so far with the parties, and you've got the talk show hosts like Savage, and he takes things. I used to be a very, very large fan. I actually bought all of his books, signed special edition copies of all of his books, I'm afraid to say. I was a big Savage fan, huge. I still love his delivery method. The way he speaks is just, it's special.
He's got the right voice.
Maya, when I am called on the carpet for my prior views, I'm going to have you back me up because, hey, you're a Savage fan too.
I used to be a huge Ann Coulter fan too.
So here's what happened. We were talking about this post where you were, talking about what's going on, your patio situation, kind of vented a little bit of a rant to it. It was political in tone, discussed it with the government. You wrap that post up with the words, I sound like one of those damn libertarians.
Yeah, no, I realize that admitting that you were stupid before is the first step to admitting how far you've grown, and I've grown into a libertarian.
All right, so you've grown into a libertarian.
And the first comment on that was something along the lines of admission of this is the first step to running for office in question form. And I hopped on that, made sure to contact all the proper channels to attack you on this, and that's, I guess, why you're here today, really, so we can pick on you about what you really think libertarianism is, and are you a libertarian by what definition, because anybody listening to this show is probably a little bit more advanced on the political spectrum, and there's how many different kinds of libertarians do you think there are now?
Oh,
what,
my
50,
gosh.
60 out there now?
Good gosh,
Lord.
at least.
But the basic core of libertarians, can you, if you want, if you can, if you think of it this way, can you give us a brief synopsis of what you think libertarianism is?
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. And boy, my Facebook posts get me in more trouble. I swear. Okay, so I feel like, first off, let me dive into why I'm not represented. Is for the past 3-4 elections, this country has been bipolar. It's been 50-50, split down, and when you're counting hanging chads and recounting one county, and when one county in this country can swing the entire thing from one party to the other for the presidential election, that kind of divisiveness is proof that you're too divided. You're actually two political entities trying to function in one space. And you're never going to hit that unless you address this middle ground, the people that don't know where to turn. And I realize that I am now one of the people that doesn't know where to turn. I agree economically with many conservative issues. I agree socially with many liberal issues. There's a lot where I just kind of want to stay out of it, and I'm like, guys, I mean, these are personal issues. These aren't even political issues. And so when you combine the fact that politically I am about as bipolar as the country is right now, because I want to be one place economically and another place socially.
Right.
And then add on to that the fact that there's a lot of things where I just don't feel like it's any of the government's business. And I think that's where we start getting very independent, very libertarian.
So you toyed around with a couple political comments indicating you might be a libertarian. I'm the vice chair of the Libertarian Party here in Marion County. You were coming on the show. We thought it'd be a great opportunity to possibly even bring in, we have sitting here with us also Jason Sipe, who is the chair of the Libertarian Party of Marion County. We thought maybe it would be an interesting kind of go around to talk about what you see maybe your future holding and some of the questions and answers that maybe the party would have for you along those lines. Jason?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show this afternoon. I really appreciate it, and it's been fascinating sitting here and listening to some of the trials and tribulations that a person has to go through to make a living in this country. My position when it comes to the way I look at the Libertarian Party is not one of exclusion, but of inclusion. You know, you talked about the number of different libertarians that are out there. I have friends who are capitalists. I have friends who are, when it comes to the way that I look at the party, I look at it as a very inclusive thing. At the end of the day, the question I ask anybody who really is looking at libertarianism is, will you leave me alone? And what I'm hearing is yes. We will leave you alone, and we'll get out of your lives, and we'll let business take care of business and people take care of people. And that's something that I think that we can support. Listen to Papa here this afternoon. I'm also thinking about the party itself. In addition to the party, the people who are listening to this show. Are you hearing this, people? You have somebody who's interested in making a difference, somebody who's not going to kneel before the corporatists of the Republican Party nor the ideologues of the Democrat Party, somebody who's willing to talk about local issues and make an improvement in the lives and the opportunity here on the east side of Indianapolis and throughout the city, given the opportunity. So I'm enthusiastic about what I'm hearing, and I think there is a place for you in the Libertarian Party. People in this community know you. People throughout the city know you,
whether they like it or not.
Well, from what I understand, they like it quite a bit, and your impact on this community has been fantastic. In a side of town that needs things to look to for encouragement and for an example. You are a role model for a lot of people. Now, can we get this community behind you? Can we get behind? Can we move past the township level Democrat and Republican operatives who will scuttle us with every opportunity they have? I don't know that, but I think if the people, and that's what I'm hearing, is that you have people that show up at your restaurants, that show up at your places of business, and they will support you. I think it's a great opportunity, and it also kind of comes back, how do you see yourself as a candidate? Do you see yourself as somebody who's filling out the paperwork and getting their name on the ballot and maybe participating in a few letters here and there, or are you going to get out and about and push this?
Well, okay, so that's a really, really good question, and I'm hoping that some of this is kind of the libertarian litmus test, because I want to be given the libertarian litmus test. I don't even know what it would entail. How ignorant am I of what it would involve? You know what the truth is? Actually, very. Which I think is a good thing. I remember reading or coming up with the idea, I can't tell which, whether it was my idea or not, long, long ago, that the ideal candidate for let's say, presidential office, the ideal candidate wants nothing to do with it. He should be dragged kicking and screaming into being president. The very act of wanting to lead this country should disqualify you immediately. And so I'm somewhere along that line. I'm very fed up with politics as we know it. I have no real political agenda whatsoever, but I've got this agenda of, you know what, it just shouldn't be this difficult, guys. I'm no genius, but I managed to succeed where everyone said we would fail with the restaurant. I succeeded because we were very fly by the seat of our pants. We did what made sense. We took risks that most people do not take. We made sacrifices that most people will not make. And here, 6 years later, we defied all the odds. I think a lot of it's because I did not know what I was getting myself into.
One of the things I'll just interject here real briefly is that I think we see a different type of pro-business attitude here. This is small business. A small business is not some company that has 250 employees and a contract with Eli Lilly and Company that's coming here to get tax abatement. This is a person who's having to face the reality of trying to open up a small business to make a living for himself. And I think that's one of the most egregious obstacles that we put in the way of commerce, is the things that we put in the way of the small business person. So I commend you for that. What you talk, I listen to your patio. That's nothing more than a First Amendment issue. You are supposed to have an opportunity to have a redress with your government. You got to pay $2,000 to get there. Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Now, on to another question is, if you were actually wanting to run for office, have you had any thought as like what office you would run for? What level of government are you going for? Are you looking for somewhere where you can basically hop in, affect change in the areas you want to affect change in, and then hop back out? Do you want to maybe like even put on the back burner the idea of having a political career? What kind of things have been going through your head? I mean, especially since maybe that post the other day and you might have talked to some of these guys. Has anything really come up? Do you have any aspirations for anything?
Well, okay, so these are loaded questions, right? If you'd have asked me 7 years ago if I'd have seen myself running a restaurant, I didn't. And then, 6 years ago, I was running one. And if you'd have asked me 6 years ago if I thought it would be successful, I didn't. And now it is. And as we reach each milestone, my life evolves. My desires evolve. And a few years ago, I started meeting a lot of the rainmakers or movers and shakers People that aren't really politically involved but are very socially involved. The name Chris Dyson comes to mind. Jason Bean. I don't know if you know these names. They're big players in the internet blogging and social media circles. And my gosh, I was even I was on the lineup of a stand-up comedian show under Will Hodges at City Market. And more I'm thinking, I've made a personality of the name Paparu. Now it's time to actually bring that a little more personal, and who is Paparu and what drives him and what does he want to do with it. The more I start getting into that, the more I'm into public speaking, and I'm taking speaking engagements, and I've been on, I spoke in front of a 700-member youth league. I've been on a show at At the Top series at the Skyline Club with Paul Poteet, sitting, alongside real celebrities. I still don't think of myself as a real celebrity. You know why? Because I'm not one. I'm just a guy who found a voice that reaches a lot of people. It happens to be right now mostly through a Facebook page with 5,000 friends and twice as many, followers daily, and that's great. I use that to reach people and tell them who I am and what I want. Now, right now, what do I want? I want the government to let me run my business. I'm not saying I don't want to pay taxes. Do taxes suck? Absolutely, they suck. But I will pay them. But my gosh, I'm paying that and more, and I'm still being denied just the quiet enjoyment of running a business. Well, it's ridiculous. Do I know what office I would run for? No, I don't. I'm ignorant of these things. I'm so ignorant that guess what? I would need advisors. Oh, imagine that. I would actually need to seek people that are experts in this and know how to put things together and help me know what I'm doing. Well, great. Well, then what am I? I'm a guy who knows how it affects the small business, how it affects my family. I have time to get out and meet with people. I've got a staff of 25 people. I'm running the business administratively right now along with my wife. I'm not at the stove cooking up po' boys. I would like to be, but I'm not. Can I go out and actually make things happen? Sure, I can. How many people can do that? I have a day job that pays the bills, and I don't have to stand at the stove to do it. Well, that's a blessing. Let's use these things to reach people more than just on Facebook.
One of the things that we've been bouncing back and forth for as long as I've been active at the county level in the Libertarian Party is exactly the kind of candidate that we're looking for. Do we want ultra-serious candidates who are going to be able to spend tons of time on the campaign trail? People are going to be able to raise money. That's one of the biggest things. But here's what I see as a real opportunity for Paparu as a person who wants to make an impact on the city and an impact on his local community. We have ballot access. We have a way to make sure that your people will have an opportunity to vote. But on the other hand, we also have a certain structure out there. And this is where I appeal to your listeners. Listen to this, people. There's an opportunity here. Are you going to come forward and hand out flyers in your neighborhood? Are you going to come out to a Libertarian Party meeting? Are you going to come out to a local meeting to meet Papa and promote that amongst your friends and neighbors? That's what it's going to take to get elected to a position, maybe a city county council position. The mayor's office is a difficult and hard climb to make, but it's on the table. We haven't really seen anybody step forward to claim a campaign for any of our major positions at the city level. But this is a discussion that we need to continue. Absolutely.
If we have time, may I speak about a couple of issues where maybe people are wanting to know where I stand on things? What is Papa's platform, as it were? And I really don't have one, but I can kind of talk about stuff.
That's kind of where we were wanting to go, too, is I have a couple lists here of some of the main issues and some of the big issues people have with the Libertarian Party and their platform. This is some of the first paragraphs in the Libertarian Party's platform is, we, the members of the Libertarian Party, challenge the cult of the omnipotent state and defend the rights of the individual. We hold that all individuals have the right to exercise sole dominion over their own lives and have the right to live in whatever manner they choose, so long as they do not forcibly interfere with the equal rights of others to live in whatever manner they choose. And that's the Libertarian Party's brand of libertarianism summed up in like 2 paragraphs. Is that as long as you're not hurting anybody else, we don't care. So I guess one of the first things we get in a lot of trouble in is the hot button issue is drugs. And we're talking about like drug legalization, what we should do with them. Should we tax them? Should we legalize it? Should we just decriminalize it? And we're not talking about just pot here, and all the way out to hemp and what crops we're allowed to grow, things like that. What's your stance on the drug culture and the drug war in this country?
Excellent. Okay, this is a great place to start. Start with a funny anecdote of my son, who is 16 going on 30, and has always been just this genius philosopher and debater. He, against all expectation, has grown into nothing short of a socialist liberal, which for being my son, people are laughing because I was not when I raised him.
It's just a phase.
And well, gosh, I hope not, because he's teaching me a lot. And we all, as a family, took the Carl Jung psychological profile test the other day, and mine turned out to just nail me and call me out for the attention whore that I am. But his nailed it on him in a very deep and profound way, and even gave his likely career choices and likes. And do you know, one of the things listed on there was that he would be for the legalization of marijuana. Now, how would the Carl Jung profile nail it that much with my 16-year-old son? Because he is. He is very for the legalization of marijuana, having never smoked in his life, but just having, well, okay, so he tells me he's never smoked in his life, but just having this social awareness of, guys, that's really not somewhere that the government needs to be so involved. So that's the amusing part of it. Now, what about me personally? I'm a business owner. Let me tell you where I am on this personally. I have some of the best employees in the city. I will go on record with that. These guys are with it. They are bright. They are loyal. They are dedicated.
Well, and recently one of your new employees made you international headline.
Yes, international. I was on the radio with the BBC while I was trying to go through security at an airport, and it was a disaster because the guy I was on the radio with on the BBC sounded like a Muslim, and I almost got arrested for being on the phone going through security. Anyway, I come back to my employees are so fantastic, but you know what? A lot of them may or may not partake of things.
So you're saying the possibility that some of your employees may or may not do something that could be considered illegal?
This is possibly true. And so I have a very firm stance on this. Don't let it affect your work. That's my stance on it.
That's about the best policy there ever is concerning possibly illegal substances.
I don't care what you do on your time. However, the truth is you could be doing things on your own time, and then the after effects spill over to affect my time. Then we're going to have a problem.
So is that basically your stance on the whole thing is do whatever you want, don't, whatever, just, as long as you're not forcing on people, but if it's affecting your job, you're an idiot, stop doing it. But you don't think it's the role of the government or even to say the community to tell people what they can and cannot put in their own bodies. And this goes further than just the illicit drugs, so-called. This goes through like the FDA banning certain vitamins, or saying you can't label something a vitamin or things like that. I mean, so do you think, the rephrase the question there is, do you think the government has a role in telling us what we can and cannot put in our own bodies?
I do believe that if there are things that are inherently going to make you an outright, obvious, verifiable danger to others, that I believe deserves some intervention. I don't know exactly what that means. I do know that my threshold for that test is probably much higher than what there is right now.
So basically, really crazy drugs like bath salts. There's no way to have a normal high on bath salts.
I've seen bath salt videos where people are killing and eating the faces of other people. I don't get down like that.
I think bath salts is a byproduct of the war on drugs that you can't grow anything, so you have to make these chemicals and you have to keep changing it. Like I recently, this a weekend ago or so, I don't remember, I took an enlightenment tool and it was quite possibly the best experience of my entire life. Now, was I worth 2 shits for the next 3 days? No, I wasn't. But I don't think something like that should be illegal, and so it doesn't seem like you do either necessarily. That as long as it's not absolutely going to destroy you, and it's basically like drinking, battery acid, that it should basically be kind of up to the person's discretion to pay for their own actions.
No, I will say that as a business owner, I'm going to have some Papa-roo business rules around what you can and cannot do.
Oh, that is 100%. Yeah. That's the point of it. Your business. You can actually, if you say you only wanted to hire people under the height of 5'8", that's fine. I don't think that makes any sense, but yeah, you could do that.
I've got a good friend that comes up and gives a concert in Papa-roo every now and then, and he has a song all about the chemicals that helped him recover mentally and emotionally from the Katrina disaster. And he introduces the song by joking that, well, how crazy is it that God designed a plant that grows from the ground that can naturally help him with all of his problems, and it's illegal. But chemists can mix all these crazy chemicals together and put them together in a capsule and charge $100 a piece for them. That he can take. Well, that's silly.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, the whole pharmaceutical versus natural it's gotten absurd, and it's all because of the government. I can blame everything on the government because I'm the host of this show, and I'm an anarchist.
So going back to, especially, specifically marijuana, yes, if I have a work injury, I want to know if it's due to, as one of my ex-employees put it, man, I'm just kind of left over from smoking last night, was what he would tell me. I'm kind of left over. I don't know what left over means, but it sounds to me.
Handle smoke, but go
on. But when he then hurt himself, I sent him to be tested to see if he was left over on the job, and he turned out to be left over on the job, and I terminated him because he was trying to pin the cost of his injury on me. I don't get down like that.
Right. That's not fair to the business owner. If you. That's libertarianism. That's paying for your own consequence. That's where we somewhat differ from some of the other parties where they want to cover you if you're on drugs, and they think it's a symptom, it's a problem, and they want to cover you, and the other side wants to say, well, you shouldn't be allowed to do it at all. Well, I know many people that can responsibly handle a lot of those things, and we shouldn't hold that against them.
And there's a whole other kind of leftover from the night before that is so often overlooked because it's legal hangovers. And that can, I'm in the same industry you are. Boy, when the staff rolls in and they have really, really been on a bender the night before and just been pounding the beers back and doing shots or whatever the case is, they walk in and they're hungover, my gosh, that can really seriously impact my business, and I know yours. Slow moving, you're not sure about how well they're thinking, whether or not they need to dive out of their job to go run to the bathroom. And those situations are just as dangerous to a business.
Oh, absolutely.
As the illegal drugs, but for whatever reason, just the illegality makes it so much worse to have a little bit of of a pot hangover left than an alcohol hangover, and really the alcohol one's probably the more dangerous.
Oh, if you're hungover in either way, you're not slicing beef on my 10-inch slicer blade. Not in my restaurant.
Amen. And so we'll go ahead and move on to the next one because we could kind of talk about that either any of these forever. So the next one that the Libertarian Party gets in some trouble in is on, especially it's a recent huge topic, is same-sex marriage and how we treat people's personal relationships. The Libertarian Party basically takes a stance that gender and sexuality have no place being in government records. The government should not care what gender you prefer to be, what gender you are, any of that. We shouldn't care about your relationships, what you do in your own house, in your bedroom, or how you show affection in the public square. We definitely get some heat for that. What would you say is your position on what's the government's role when it comes to personal relationships and a person's own gender.
Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit and start with exactly how that Facebook post started that got me here, which is, I'm going to come clean on this one. I was dumb when I was young, and let the first person who wasn't dumb when they were young call me out on that one. And as a dumb member of a religious movement that kind of had me forced into participating with them, I attended a rally against same-sex marriage. I'm not proud of it. I am proud of who I've grown into, and I look at all experiences as being critical and crucial to who I am today. So I just want to be on record on that one. Now, who am I today? I believe that couples who would like to apply for same-sex marriage should be given the right to suffer right alongside heterosexuals.
Amen.
Seriously, on a very serious note, I would hope that my actions and my history as Paparoo speaks for itself. I kind of use first names of people if I don't use lasts.
You can do whatever you want. There's not a million listeners on this show. This isn't the Glenn Beck show, so you can kind of do whatever you need.
So between Kate and Trisha and Sandy and BJ, some of whom are business partners, some of whom are previous employees, I hope you all know and can attest to the fact that I love you all. And your sexual preference may not be mine and doesn't freaking matter. My sister, of course, was just in town and is very active down in New Orleans in the gay and lesbian culture. She is gay, and she is a head of a department at a no AIDS task force down in New Orleans. She's a wonderful person. I love her. I'm proud of her. My role in any politics should have nothing to do with her or Sandy or BJ or Kate or Trisha or anyone else ever.
And this is an issue that's been interesting to see how it's played out in the libertarian circles just over the last couple of years, because the cliche amongst libertarians is, well, there should be no government marriage. The reality of it is that municipalities have made proclamations regarding gay marriage, regarding same-sex couples, regarding benefits. There are practical ways where this could possibly come up in legislation, whether it be a proclamation by the city council or possibly even clearing the way for benefits for same-sex employees on the city level. If you were faced with either of those positions, have you really thought about how you might deal with them?
Oh my gosh, no, I haven't thought any of it through. I am a big believer in things should be clearly defined. I guess my vague argument in the past has been, I don't believe in benefits for vaguely undefined relationships because I'm not afforded that right. So I think as long as things are clearly defined, and again, I said I think people should have to suffer right alongside heterosexuals, and it's a joke. I mean, I love my wife. I love my traditional marriage. I love my heterosexuality to death. However, I don't think that my heterosexuality should have anything to do with someone who is not. Period.
And that's awesome because one of the main libertarian, the average thing is the law needs to be equal as long as it's law. We would rather it not be in law, that you get up to 1,300 federal benefits, you get a whole bunch of local benefits, everything else. But as long as it's going to be law and there is marriage, it needs to be equal, not separate but equal civil unions. Now, would you oppose it's HJR 6 that's coming up that they're trying to propose to be a constitutional amendment in the Indiana state constitution that says same-sex marriages are banned, and goes as far as to say that any kind of contract that even kind of maybe can resemble the benefits of marriage is also banned, going down to civil unions, which means no one other than heterosexual couples can ever have special benefits and rights from the government. Would you oppose HJR 6?
Let me say that I have long long held the belief that when you feel the need to legislate morality, you have already lost the battle.
Amen. I'm already voting for you, and I don't even vote.
And so, no, so seriously, so why ban it? Indiana, why ban it? Why try to tell people whether you think their actions are moral or not?
I have no problem, and I know we all know these people who stand against gay marriage. They have religious reasons, they have philosophical reasons, but
They're
also
the same people that gave me death threats when I came out. So
but here's the thing, Maya. Maybe I'm sticking it in the hornet's nest here, but I'll go ahead and throw this one out. I also know people of that ilk who are very strong libertarians who would never support that type of measure because they would rather tell you to your face that they have an exception with your lifestyle than having the government do it.
That is one of the best things about libertarianism is that there's a lot of libertarians that think I'm an abomination against nature, that I shouldn't honestly naturally exist, but they will never use government to ever affect my life, and they will not come after me personally and violate the non-aggression principle, which is a godsend.
Yeah, I think that Maya has probably challenged a lot of people's. And one of the roughest things about being a free person is the ability to look at somebody else who may not share your idea of what freedom is, and to let them have their space. And I think Maya's challenged a few people in the party over the last few years, and I'm happy for it.
Now, Maya, Jason, you guys we're dancing around an issue here that, it needs to be spelled out here. I am a Christian. I have professed a faith and a belief in Jesus Christ as my Savior. According to my Christian Bible, you are on the wrong side, Maya. Do I care about that politically? No.
Good.
Do I care about what you do? Does what you do affect what I do? No. Do I think for a second that you care about my Savior, Jesus Christ, saying you are wrong? Maya, I don't think you care.
And see, that's the great thing, is that in politics we don't have to do that because technically I'm a faith-based person, I'm a religion-based person, and I have a belief in God, and I believe that my own little interpretation of Jesus and everything else, so I believe I'm on the right side of things too. But so we're all free to do that, and it's wonderful that it's that's what libertarianism is, that you can have any personal belief system you want. We don't care. Just don't use it against other people. And then there's one more thing to add on to the whole question with the gay marriage. It's not just about gay marriage. I go as far to say that gender should be no issue to the government. The government has no right to label you with gender or race. Especially race with gender as well. Is that why does the government need to know that? Do you think the government needs to collect the information like that? I mean, they basically just need our tax info and our address. I mean, do you think they really need to have that information?
Oh my gosh, look at me. Try to tell me what race I am. I'm from New Orleans, buddy.
You're a little bit of everything.
I'm a little bit.
I want to interject here. This is something that in the Libertarian Party has been a point of contention for quite some time, is how to respond to the issue of gay marriage, the issue of marriage equality, equality in gender issues in general. There are people in the state of Indiana who would rather we say nothing, and the Libertarian Party almost have a vacuum of policy on this issue. The way I run, I know that sounds selfish, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. The way I'm running the Libertarian Party of Marion County is inclusive. If you have a Christian attitude, if you have a Christian opinion in your personal sphere, we're welcome to that, especially somebody who's got the maturity and the foresight to understand that's not a political issue. And to anybody who looks at what we have in Marion County and has a problem with it, come out and change it. The people who are making a difference in the Libertarian Party of Marion County today are the people who are open to let individuals be individuals. And that's where I see us moving through this next political cycle.
And then we can kind of go on to the next topic, which is my favorite, obviously. I mean, there's my gun sitting right behind me right now. Is the Libertarian platform on guns is we oppose all laws at any level of government requiring registration of or restricting the ownership, manufacture, transfer, or sale of firearms or ammunition. What do you think the government's role is with firearms?
Oh my gosh, I think the Second Amendment is painfully and literally very, very clear. I I challenge anyone to try to take mine, to try to take Mama's. I think it may be, God forbid, may be, Maya, the one and only thing that you and Andrew Kirch see 100% eye to eye on, and I love that. I love that no matter how diverse two people are, there can be something that ties them, and that's yours.
It is on many issues with Andrew. We might disagree on what gun's the best sometimes, but for the most part, we have an infatuation and love with the firearms. So what's you obviously just said you have firearms. Do you think the government has a place in restricting ownership, what kind you have, if you have to have a permit? I mean, I have to get a piece of paper that says I can carry that thing around.
That's ludicrous. Yeah.
Ludicrous.
Do you know why we are no longer in San Francisco?
Because of the gun laws?
My wife grew a little bit wary of committing a felony offense every single day because California does not issue personal carry permits. It's not a shall issue state. And if you maybe need it because you carry jewels for your business or lots of money, then maybe you get one. But on a personal level, no. But that didn't stop Mama Roo. And finally, I was like, honey, you're committing a felony every single day. Let's move back to the States. So we did that. We left a foreign country and came back to the States, sent everyone a postcard.
Awesome.
I have family I refuse to visit in San Francisco just because I can't bear the thought of putting a dime in that city's coffers.
All right, so if you don't mind, this whole conversation that we're on right now, this topic started out of you talking about discussing some things that are important to Papa, some things that might be included with Papa's platform should he ever decide he wanted to be candidate Papa. We touched on a couple things that are in the Libertarian platform, but you also sounded like maybe there were some issues that were especially important to you. Were those the ones we just covered, or is there something else out there that really stands out to you that if you were to be a candidate Papa, you would be like, this is absolutely one of the things I want to talk about?
Well, there's a lot of things that I will talk about, but I'm mature enough to understand that you're going to have to pick your battles. Unfortunately, Josh, there's some battles you're not going to win in the short term. And I can feel as strongly about them as I want. I'll talk about them freely. I won't necessarily push for them politically if I think we've lost that one and it's a topic for another century. Taxes, ludicrous. Tax code in this city, in this state, in this country, absolutely ludicrous. Would I support a flat tax? Absolutely. I believe, I could see the country moving to no income tax, no property tax, flat sales tax of a very, very hefty 50, 60%, I don't care, across the board. Do I think you'd ever get it? No. It's a battle that's not worth fighting right now. But I'm for it, and when that time comes, that's where I need to be. Tax code is ludicrous. Why is tax code ludicrous? Because you've got a lot of people that make their living off of supporting the tax code. Sure. Well, that's crazy.
Sure.
There's other things that I would support that are not going to get the traction they deserve right now. I am for approval voting. Anyone familiar with approvalvoting.org?
No, go ahead and tell us a little bit about
If
that.
you're not familiar with approval voting, you should go and visit approvalvoting.org. And it's a concept that many people have told me is unfair and fails every time, but I don't know. Mathematically, statistically, it makes sense to me. The idea is one person gets to vote for as many different candidates as they think would succeed at doing the job. Period. And so if I go to vote and I like not only the Republican candidate, but I also do like the independent, I vote for both. And sure, what's going to happen in the short term? The Republican's still going to take it. But what's going to happen immediately is the independent gets a showing that he wouldn't have had otherwise, because voting for the person that you think will take it no longer costs the independent his vote.
Well, the Republican and Democrat Party will stop you from doing that. I'm not saying that to be
That's what I'm
be
saying.
a smart ass, but it's great. I love the idea. It's fantastic.
So I am for things that will never get traction.
Well, are you also? I mean, the thing is, I always say is, like I said, I'm an anarchist. I don't vote. I will never vote. One of the biggest things the Libertarian Party has to face is straight ticket voting. I say that we would win almost every single election we're in if it wasn't for straight ticket voting. Do you support the idea of getting rid of straight ticket voting?
Straight ticket voting encourages people to not need to think about what they're doing. And I think if you're going to go vote and not think about what you're doing, I don't want your vote.
If anyone ever says that Papa is not a libertarian, I'm going to punch you in the face because this guy's a libertarian. But
I'm just thinking about the conversation today, and I'm trying to envision the candidate that Papa could possibly be. And I think if we found some of the issues that are near and dear to his heart that can be affected on the municipal level, that he has the best opportunity to be elected of any of the candidates I've seen over the last 5-6 years in the county, and that's going to hopefully stir some controversy up, considering some of the higher profile candidates we've had. He is a libertarian. I see a place for him, and let me be the first to say, run, man, run.
Okay, you're going to be one of those experts that helps me figure out how.
Oh, yeah. It's too late. You were here. I've already got people sinking their fangs into you and the idea. You're going to run. Now, I got a question. What do you think of Rupert Bonham?
Okay, I actually don't know Rupert very well, and a lot of that is because I don't watch TV. I don't like reality TV. I know who he is. I love that he's a biker. I participated in his ride for Rupert's Kids. I love anybody who supports causes and puts their own name and profile out there to do that. I know in general that he is pro-legalization. Other than that, I have to profess to not being able to say much about him.
Well, I just asked because I was a senior staff member on his campaign, and I currently work with Rupert's Kids when I can. So
excellent.
That was a good answer.
He is a member of the Roo Riders. We have on Facebook a group of people who are Paparoo customers and motorcycle enthusiasts, and Rupert's one of them.
Awesome.
Time's an issue for you, so we don't want to keep you from your other obligations. Probably a little later than you expected to be here, and I apologize.
Have we answered everything that you needed me to answer?
Well, it also comes to the point, is there anything else you want to say?
Oh, my gosh. I guess in closing, I'll say that along the lines of the person who should be president should be dragged kicking and screaming into it, a quality that I think is rare in people is, guys, I don't really care what people think of me. I saw a picture come through Facebook, one of those things, e-cars, or it says something like how to start a fight on the internet. 1, express an opinion. 2, wait. Guys, I've got it so streamlined, I just jump straight to number 2. I can just wait, and somebody hates me. I give a crap what people think. I'm going to speak my mind. That
is a good quality. Even if you're hate, it's still attention. And I mean, at this point, basically just off this one hour-long conversation here, you're going to be on the ballot within the next 2 years. I'm just going to make sure of that. I don't care who I have to pay. I'll go out and prostitute myself to get the money to pay people off. But I'd love to see you run. I mean, I actually would. That's why I supported Rupert. I didn't know him from Survivor. I knew him from the stories I heard about what he did with charity, what he did with some of the money he got from Survivor, things like that. You're a small business owner that's not a trust fund kid. I know some business owners downtown, they got family money. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't have a sense of community with their restaurant. I remember, I've never been to your Post and 10th restaurant. I've been to the one when you were still in the city market. I mean, I honestly don't get out much. But so I was there, and I saw these people, and I know all these people. I haven't, old friends, old school friends that just absolutely love you. Like the roller derby community was absolutely in love with you, and still are. And it would be great to see something that you yourself, just without the politics or anything else, do kind of represent a more underground community. You pull in a lot of what do I want to say here? A lot more.
You pull in well, to be quite frank, the kind of people that tend to be attracted to our party. You are all right. Honestly, I've been in your establishment. You mentioned earlier you have great employees. That's what got me hooked on your establishment. First and foremost, when I first walked into your place for the very first time, the young lady that was at the desk was just awesome. She was having fun at work. You could tell it. She was like, have you ever been to Paparu? She couldn't wait to tell me about the place. But you inspire that kind of energy among your staff and among people in that kind of a cultural circle. And those are the kind of people that also respond well to the libertarian message a lot of times.
Okay, no, I could see that completely. Thank you.
So if you don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and let you go. I know you got business stuff to do.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, no, I think I've already done that, but yeah, go Naptown.
Go Naptown. Roller Girls.
All right, there we go.
We'll shoot out a link for them.
And like I said, definitely thanks for coming on. Definitely everybody go check out Paparu's restaurant. It's on 10th and Post. You know what? Bring your own lawn chair and go sit outside. Go sit in the parking lot. See what they say. You know.
Please visit his restaurant. It is some of the most incredible food you're ever
eat. We'll go. We'll. I'll get a cop block party over there. We'll mess with the police and code enforcement. And we'll definitely try to have you back on if you do decide to move any further into this running for office, anything else like that. We will do what we can as the Libertarian Party and as this.
Come back on the show sometime.
Absolutely. Keep me in the loop.
Awesome.
Maya, Josh, Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a ton for tuning in. Make sure you listen to IndianaTalks.com. Thanks to Gary Snyder for the opportunity to have the show.
Also, every Tuesday at 4:40 or so, we have the political roundtable discussion. I am on it every single Tuesday. Like I said, it's around 4:30 or so, and he replays
4:35, I think.
4:35 is when I call in.
Yeah.
So that's when we start. But I'm going to be on every single Tuesday on the roundtable, and I usually bring a nice breath of fresh anarchist air to it. So definitely check that out. So like his channel, like Indiana Talks, like his page, like our page, the Uncontrollables, like Creating Maya. Donate. Use my Amazon Associates link for anything you buy on Amazon. What else is there? Go to iTunes, subscribe. Please rate our show.
Yep. Rate us high.
Rate us. Give us a freaking 5
Don't
stars.
tell them what you really think. Give us 5
and
stars.
give us a great review. Say like, this is the most amazing show I've ever had to do ever. I don't know why I did that, but do all that stuff, and then we will see you next week.
This has been the Uncontrollables! Woo!